Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session on the Automation Diaries, the Wizard of Automation. Today, we have with us Mr. Shvetal Desai, a very good friend of mine. He's the founder member of Nividous Software Solutions. Thank you and welcome, Shvetal.
Thank you, Uday. Thank you very much to have me on this. It's a great honor.
Let me start by congratulating you, Shvetal, on the recent announcement by Gartner in their paper, Competitive Landscape, Robotic Process Automation Software, you being among the topmost players today globally. And I'm sure that must be a great acknowledgement for everybody at Nividous, your team, yourself. How do you feel?
It's great. We are extremely proud of what we've achieved so far and the recognition that we have got, and the fact that Gartner, one of the premier analysts, is recognizing us in this way has been just a stamp on the way we have come so far, and we hope to achieve more such accolades going forward.
Bravo, and kudos to you, really, and to the team.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, since we're talking about Gartner, Shvetal, I would like to ask you, there's a lot of prediction that not only just Gartner, but even analysts like Forrester, Everest have made in terms of automation reaching its pinnacle, and not just automation, but even emerging technologies and its adoption in organizations globally. In fact, the prediction is that it's going to grow exponentially in billions of dollars. You have been globe-trotting, of course, prior to COVID, and I know you're very busy even during COVID. What is your observation when you talk to all the CEOs and the C-suite of the different organizations? Is this a reality? Is this feasible?
Absolutely. We are super excited. All the analysts are predicting, like you said, there is a lot of focus on RPA in the last 2-3 years, and there is renewed focus post COVID. So we are seeing even more use cases emerging, and it really is very simple, right? Boils down to cost cutting and to be able to function in a more lean environment with a new normal. And what we are seeing now is essentially the way I would describe it is a company is executing better than its competition to survive. So essentially it's in business because it executes better. The execution of a company is really its process. And if the process is automated, then that's really the core advantage that they have. They will continue being in business as they keep improving their processes. So theoretically, a customer will always keep improving their processes forever, which lends itself very well to any automation a story, in the sense, RPA story or otherwise. To be able to automate quickly is really key for the success of a company.
Right, Shvetal. So can you just share some of the case studies?
Sure, absolutely. So essentially, RPA started off as being, more of a, tactical advantage to be able to, put certain things quickly out of the way and give immediate results. However, people are realizing that RPA to start off has been good, but to be able to go beyond, you need holistic automation, basically, which means that you need to go beyond into the hyper automation space, as Gartner describes it, and to be able to augment RPA with human judgment, and also go beyond into your end-to-end organizational, enterprise, automation, and even go one step beyond to beyond your organizational boundaries, to your external participants like vendors or dealers or field agents and things like that, or even customers. So we are seeing huge interest, and of course the next stage is set for scaling. So these automated silos of RPA are now trying to, customers are trying to go beyond and do the entire end-to-end to be able to achieve the real scale for their automation.
Brilliant. Shvetal, you mentioned two very interesting terms. One of them was this whole holistic approach that you're talking about. The industry calls it hyper automation. Tell us a little bit more about hyper automation, the holistic approach, your product line.
Absolutely. So holistic, let me first define that. So holistic automation is really hyper automation, as Gartner calls it. or even it's not just Gartner. We have Forresters of the world. We have all the analysts of the world now recognizing this as a de facto requirement to be able to scale in automation. So it really means moving from RPA to augment human judgment to it, like I said, with AI, and then BPM for end-to-end process automation and beyond. So essentially, without the ability to have these all three as part of one product, it's going to be difficult to scale and achieve your true automation. And that's the space that we really want to play in. We are a strong player in hyper automation. We are the only company that we know of who offers this end-to-end under one platform itself.
Right. So Shvetal, there's a lot that you talked about with regards to going beyond the organizational boundaries, right? That's the second term that you used in your earlier response. There are a lot of solutions that are available for B2B integration. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that area, Shvetal?
Absolutely. So, essentially to be able to get your external participants involved in your end-to-end automation is very key to success, not just your internal employee automation. The best way I can describe that is through an example. So there is, very recently we had a large automotive manufacturer, approach us because they were actually using RPA already, another product that they were using for RPA for more than 2-3 years. But the problem they were trying to solve could not be achieved with just RPA. So essentially, it was a solution they wanted to devise for loyal customers, where they wanted to give them cash back for exchanging their cars, older cars. And this was all, the whole process started with the dealer getting all the information, like the car registration information, the customer invoice, the license information, all other government IDs, all of this by the dealer. The dealer would then feed it into the internal systems of the manufacturer. It would go through multiple different, flows within the enterprise from multiple participants. And then it would go finally to an auditor who would take that information and compare it with third-party systems, government websites, to verify all this information. And then finally, they required this to go into a document management system. No other product provides this entire end-to-end flavor. So that's where we came in the picture, and that's where they preferred us for this automation, because we have, right at the beginning, ability to have on-device extraction. That means using machine learning to deploy on, dealer devices, ability to extract information directly from these documents, feed them into internal systems where the BPM comes in, where it would go through multiple routing logic, where it would the flow of work would go between multiple individuals, and then finally it would go into a document management system. And the underlying piece to all of this would be the RPA and the BPM binding it together. So they had multiple different objectives here, and they were able to achieve them. Their infrastructure costs went down because now everything is done on dealer devices. They don't have high infra in the back end. So with one quick stroke, they were able to leverage infra of the external participants of their organization and use resources from the external participants. So they don't need back office folks as much anymore, because all the information is validated upfront by a dealer, their external participant.
And where are all these assets sitting? Are they sitting on-prem, on their own infrastructure, or is it on the cloud?
So they had multiple options. They chose to have it on-prem, but these assets, in fact, the asset to be able to do intelligent document extraction, that asset, well, I wouldn't call it an asset. The actual solution resides on the dealer's device, but the assets, the documents are not stored there, but they would go on-prem within the manufacturer's own internal system, in our document management system as such.
So Shvetal, now that you've realized this particular solution, this is a brilliant use case, right? I mean, this is exactly what people want to do today in their organizations. Have you been able to see the returns on the investment? Is it delivering as it was anticipated to? What are some of the tangible, intangible benefits that the organization has been able to get out of this automation exercise?
Sure. So essentially, one of the most important things is, people look at total cost of ownership and return on investment, right? So it really boils down to that. For a customer to achieve that, they have to look at various factors. One is license cost right up front. So essentially, if you're going to be paying very high amount of subscription cost for your licenses year on year, your ROI reduces significantly over time. And right up front itself, it's not going to be that high, and it diminishes over time. Secondly, if the example I just gave you where you had document extraction, assume you had 200,000 documents a month. And if you are using a product that will charge you per page pricing for doing document extraction, it's a no-brainer. You're going to bleed money over there. So one of the key advantages that we offer is we don't charge per page. I'll come back to that later. But essentially, let me cover the other points first. So infrastructure cost also cuts into your cost of ownership. Then the scalability comes in. So how many processes can you run on a single bot? Can you achieve high volume? Then you have, of course, other things like implementation cost. In fact, this is one of the most key factors. Based on Gartner and Forrester research, they say that it's going to cost you 10 times as much in your implementation cost as opposed to your actual license cost. So because it takes so long to implement processes, you will bleed over there. So if a product can help you get that down, that's going to be a significant advantage. So essentially, what we are doing to target those is our whole focus is on ROI for customer, to be able to get him his return on investment, because we know that he will eventually build more than 500 processes because it's limitless, right? This means he will need multiple bots over time. So it's a win-win for both sides if that happens. To be able to achieve that, ROI has to be achieved. And that's why for licenses, we offer perpetual licenses also in addition to subscription. So you would pay one time as opposed to every year, the same amount of money for your licenses. You don't have per page licenses per page cost for document extraction. You also have on-device extraction, which means your infrastructure cost goes down. You don't need to have high infra in the back end, and you can leverage your partners for this. Your scalability, we have stories on our side where we have customer, at least one of our customers is using, running 31 plus processes on a single bot. That is crazy kind of, scalability. And we have other, fantastic case studies which go, into the high volume bot processing areas. But essentially, another factor that also comes in when you're looking at TCO is it's not always only the cost. It is about what would the quality of the work that you get done and your SLAs that you are able to meet. So sometimes that is more important than even the cost. And we strive through our company, as a factor in a general way, we try to achieve customers ROI in 6 to 12 months, sometimes even earlier. So that the continuous win keeps happening.
I'm going to be sort of stating a few points that I have seen as obstacles or challenges that come in the way to how you would approach this concern. So one is, of course, this whole cost of ownership, right? The cost of license. It runs into thousands of dollars. The cost of the people, right, who are developing all of these projects. You may need somebody in-house managing these bots. All of these are operational expenses, right, that have to be incurred. And the big question is that are we really sort of getting any value, and at what cost, right? That's the big question that keeps coming up. How do you address these, and what would be your advice to these organizations who really want to get into automation but still have not yet embarked on it?
Sure. So the answer is multiple. I could answer this with multiple different points. But let me start with the last question that you posed, that for a customer that is already embarked, there could be two areas here. Customer is already embarked, is using RPA, but has not really seen the value yet. He's stuck because he cannot scale. That's one. Second is he's new, he's not started yet, and he doesn't know how to start, and he's really not got that internal buy-in. So one unique approach that we have used is what we call the quick start engagement, where we get a bot into production, a process into production in less than 3 to 4 weeks for the client at no cost. So there is zero risk for the customer. We put this into production only when the customer confirms that it's running fine exactly as he desires, is when the commercials actually impact. The license will only be bought at that time, which becomes a no-brainer for a client. What more can he do then that. I mean, there is no risk. There's an internal buy-in, and then after the internal buy-in and they start off their journey, then the TCO and other things come in. And to your second point, one of the key factors, like we said, was the implementation cost and the license cost. So license cost we already addressed. We are addressing with offering the perpetual license on our side. And implementation cost, we have seen that we are able to implement things in about 30 to 40% faster time than our competitors. And one of the reasons is because we don't have to deal with exception handling or logging or all these other bells and whistles that other products may have to do, because that's all inbuilt natively on our environment. All you do is focus on the logic of your process, which is how RPA implementation actually should be.
So when it comes to picking up your products, what is the ease with which one can carry on the development in-house? Throw some light on that. And do you have any kind of an academy or a capability development program on and get themselves certified?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do have that. We also have multiple partners at various different levels, which people can also leverage. But more importantly, we have a full-fledged training program and an academy that allows you to get started. Let me put it in perspective here. The way we test the waters is we eat our own dog food. So basically, essentially, every pilot or POC we build, every process we build for our customers, we leverage our record and playback capabilities, which allows us to build very quickly. So we leverage that ourselves. It's not just us talking about it. Secondly, when we are actually training, a lot of our customers are actually leverage people with zero programming backgrounds. We have had even freshers right out of electronics backgrounds who don't have much programming knowledge that we have trained in less than 2 to 3 weeks, and they've been productive within 3 weeks itself. So that puts a strong stamp of credibility on our approach and our ability to build quickly, and then as an easy to use tool.
What are the customers asking for? What kind of support are they looking for? And what are some of the solutions that you are providing in this current times?
Sure. So with COVID hitting in, just like all other companies, we were all scratching our heads. What does this mean for us going forward? And of course, for a few weeks there was a lull, but it's been amazing after that. Things have come in. People have come in with some very interesting use cases for automation as such. One good example is a power company recently approached us that they have a problem now because of COVID, where they had field agents going in to take meter readings at customer sites and then coming back and punching those numbers back into their systems. But because of COVID hitting in, they couldn't do this and it was getting difficult. So we created a custom machine learning model for extracting meter readings automatically from a device itself. So we deployed this on an app which could be downloaded by the customer themselves now, and they can take the photograph of the meter reading. It will do the extraction and send the data back directly to the customer.
Brilliant.
So in this process, they actually improved their existing system, which they would have never done if COVID had never kicked in. So from a problem, an opportunity was created for them with RPA. And these are some of the use cases that we are coming up with, very diverse ones, very exciting to implement. And also, because we are very unique in this space where we can do end-to-end automation, as well as, so we have BPM for that, as well as augmented with on-device extraction, some of these things open up for us. So my one advice is, don't just think, act on it. And this is the best time to do it now, because RPA offers that opportunity. Because traditionally you used to look at automation from top down, right? So you used to do this whole process re-engineering effort and get everybody together, cross teams, and start building something which would see the light of day after months and months, and maybe not even see a light of day because it could be fraught with problems. But with RPA now, it's bottom-up approach, right? So you are able to now plug in your holes wherever you have, and you can start bottom up. And then once you have some of the siloed automation in place, now you build on top of it by starting to include these, stitch them together to do your end-to-end process automation. So there is less risk because RPA processes are typically smaller and quicker to implement. And once you do a few of these, you get quick wins, and then you start building on that to approach your real end-to-end automation of your enterprise. So the best opportunity is to do it now with RPA.
Thank you, Shvetal. Those were truly very, very insightful words, and certainly very encouraging and inspiring for a whole lot of people who are watching and viewing to embark on the automation journey. I want to thank you personally for taking time out and talking to us today. I really want to thank the Nividous team for all the great effort, and some of the use cases that you talked about will really change the landscape of how we are going to be working. And one question that I've always been intrigued by, and I always wanted to know, was how did you come out with the name Nividous?
So thank you for asking. I get that asked a lot, and it's a really interesting story. So essentially, we wanted to look for something that defines Indianness, and we are in the information age, right? So Nivid in Sanskrit really means information. So our vision, it aligns very closely with our vision, which is allowing customers to leverage strategic information to build their enterprise and to work at their peak efficiency. So that's what it's all about.
On that note, I really want to thank you once again and thank Nividous to make India the automation capital of the world. So wish you all the best of luck. Truly deeply rooted. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.